Welcome to episode 76 of Living Well Today. This is the finale of our Drop the Mask series. Last week we talked about the vulnerability and the role of vulnerability in leadership. And today we're going to conclude with what I call the perfectionism trap. Now, I've done episodes before on imposter syndrome and will they think I'm good enough, and all of the reasons we touched many times on all of the reasons why perfectionism, or the idea of perfectionism can really keep us stuck and trapped. And so that's the essence of today, is that when we pull back or take off the mask of perfectionism, we can explore and really look at how does perfectionism sneak into our lives, right? Sneak into our work. What does it look like? What does it tell us, the inside story about our self-worth as a leader, as a human being? We're going to discover how having unrealistic, never attainable, because as you get better, you see, you just move the goal line. So you'll never reach that perfect state more than what you already, the present moment. So the present moment is the perfect state. You see, it is the perfect state right here, right now, with what is. That's perfection. The present moment is the only place. And when I say perfection, not in the, it doesn't mean that there's nothing wrong. It means that there's a level of acceptance, adjustment, openness to what is. And that all of the functions, your brain alone is a uber supercomputer. The fact that you're sitting here with me now and you're listening to this and watching this, and we're using this technology and communicating in this way, uber supercomputers. So everything is perfect as it is. That doesn't mean that we don't strive or want to grow or expand and realize our full potential. But in a sense, it's like tapping into the perfectionism that's already there, that we, in a sense, come in with our full, whole, perfect self. We learn skills, we learn language, we learn kindness, etc. But many of those things are the kindness and the compassion, the unseen powers, the unseen strengths and character traits are conditioned out of us from a very young age. And then it's our sometimes lifelong pursuit to tap back into those again and remember. So come as you are. That's what we continue to talk about. You're already enough as you are. Come as you are. So remember that through all of this, if you can, that our foundational philosophy, this come as you are, is really where the real power lies. In leadership and for life, it's really where the real power is, in that presence. You'll find it there with you, right there. I can feel it right now when I say, okay. Where I am, where I sit, with all that I have and all that I am enough. And my prescribed notion of perfection is changing. If you can at least open to that your prescribed notion of perfection is changing, it's evolving with you, then you're already 80% of the way there, because you're aware, you're mindful, you're open, you're contemplating something new. And that's the biggest difficulty of all, sometimes the biggest challenge of all, is the awareness part, making something unconscious conscious, because you can't change what you can't name, what you can't see in front of you. There's a wonderful quote I'm going to read here from Anne Lamott, and she's written several wonderful books. There's this one great book, Bird by Bird, and I love it. And the bird by bird, I've used this metaphor before, and it comes from her book, and it's a story that her dad shared with her when she was a little girl, her dad or her grandfather. That there, or maybe she was telling the story of a dad to his son or a grandfather to his grandson. But neither here nor there. The notion of it is that this little boy's got a science project due like the very next morning, and he should have started it, forever ago, and he hasn't. And he's all in a tizzy, and he's supposed to do this massive research project on birds and a report on it. And he says to his father or grandpa, well, how am I going to get this done? It's like, I waited too long. I'm going to fail. It's not going to be the way it's supposed to be. And very simply, the grandfather responds, bird by bird, bird by bird. And that's anything and everything in life. It's the small step first. So Anne Lamott says, perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor, the enemy of the people. It will keep you cramped and insane your whole life. Perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor, the enemy of the people. It will keep you cramped and insane your whole life. So you do have a choice if you want to stay in that place, or if you want to see if there might be something better, and a better way to live and a better way to lead. What is perfectionism really? What is it really? It's not the same as healthy striving. Sometimes you can get to something by naming what it is not, right? Healthy striving towards something, or growth and expansion and desire, is a movement to grow, to improve, to be better. Not to be perfect, to be better. Perfectionism is this almost external pressure that we place on ourselves that is there to prove that we're worth our worth by flawless outcomes. Flawless outcomes, which are not possible. Even the finest artists will tell you, because their eye changes and they change as an artist. They painted that painting and they go back a week later and it's not enough and they got to fix it. And then it's not enough and they got to fix it. It's perfect as it is. That's perfection, when there's an acceptance of what is and an appreciation for the way it is now. I once watched an interview, I think it was maybe like it was BBC or it was a 60 Minutes or something with CBS. And it was with Linda Ronstadt, one of the most prolific singers of our time, right? Performers, entertainers of our time. And she said very few, if any, of her performances can she go back and watch because she's so awful. She thinks she's so awful. Can you imagine? And look at the physical limitations and dis-ease that she suffers with now because she's stuffed all that awfulness down into her body and her cellular memory. She cannot go back and watch her performances because she thinks she sounded so terrible. So now some can argue that level of striving towards perfectionism is what takes you into mastery. And I would say that's one way of getting there. But almost invariably, you will have residual gook, a not so nice, nasty, negative side effect or side dish with your entree. It's mastery with the greatest amount of ease, which is all about what living well today is about, right? It's finding ease, finding joy and beauty and balance, a harmony in your heart, an easier way to live where life is more beautiful in that place and more balanced, works for you. Life works, period. It's us who get in the way. But you consciously come to this place of learning that and allowing life to be balanced for you. And when we are constantly putting this pressure on ourselves for a flawless outcome, it manifests in divorce, it manifests in bankruptcy, it manifests in a disease in the body, it manifests in the quality or lack thereof in our work, because, and it certainly manifests as sadness, depression, not the full realization of a beautiful life. Let's put it that way. Perfectionism is this trap. It's like you've never done enough. No matter what your best is, or no matter what you realized or painted or sang or performed or created, loved, no matter what you do, it isn't enough. And so it's this trap of never feeling done, never feeling good enough, no matter what you achieve. Linda Ronstadt thinks she sounds terrible. They're often masked as high standards. Oh, well, I have a very high standard for. But what it's really fueled by is that's just a fancy name for fear, criticism, fueled by a fear of rejection, of failure. It's fueled by fear, not by high expectation, fear. So I can say all of these years, oh, I have discernment and I have high expectations for my partner, for who I have in my life and who I share my life with. And while on some level, it makes sense that you want someone that's a complement to you in your life, we find love, I'm learning this more and more, we find love that mirrors us. And it's less to do with the other person and mostly to do with ourselves. And that person is either showing up on your path to mirror back to you from the perspective of what you see in yourself is lacking or what you feel in yourself is lacking, or they're there to affirm it. And so every person that comes into your life is that mirror for you. And you get to choose what you learn from that. So my mentor once said to me, you'll meet Mr. Right when you're Miss Right. And I love that. And when she means Miss Right, she doesn't mean Miss Perfect. She means the perfection that is me as I am. And as I fully accept myself as I am, that is the perfection. And that perfection brings a man who is in that place in his life as well. Makes sense? So it's not about being perfect. It's about being the best you are and not being seen as less than, not feeling as less than, because you haven't reached some prescription that either you have prescribed for yourself or someone else has. And recognizing that perfectionism is often rooted in shame. I must be perfect in order to be loved or accepted. I must be perfect in order to be loved or accepted. So, okay. As you put this false standard on yourself, you will become more and more disconnected from you, your higher self, from God, the consciousness, as well as the rest of humanity. You'll feel more and more distant from them rather than more and more connected with them. And it blocks your innovation, it blocks your creativity, it blocks your leadership. And some will say, well, entrepreneurs, they know they can't have perfection. Now, you look at Steve Jobs. Was he an innovator? Was he a leader? Was he a pioneer? He was all of those things. Was he a perfectionist? He was also a perfectionist. And he said several different times in different ways towards the end of his life, very early life, a short life by today's standards, that there were things that he would have done differently. He would have loved more. He would have laughed more. He would have, what he was saying in between the lines is that he would have been less perfect because there would have been more joy in his life. And of course, pancreatic is fear. Any kind of cancer is fear-based. So your body's going to express it in one way or the other and release it as such. So you might as well release it now when you're in a healthy state. Just let the perfectionism go. Delegate more. Let it be enough. Whatever someone else can do, let it be enough. Delegation is hard for me. But it's gotten easier and easier over time. And it also, collaboration has gotten easier and easier for me over time. I have said this phrase. Have you ever said this phrase? Oh, if I want it done right, I'll just do it myself. And I understand that. You have a certain standard. Okay. You want things a certain way. I watched the Martha Stewart documentary, right? In the meantime, her perfectionism has created all of this mastery on these other levels. She's not a super joyful person. So again, it's almost as though, can you strive for perfection and can you create great things? And that, yes, you can. But the byproducts are not the best sometimes. Maybe you'd have wealth. Maybe you would. But maybe you're alone. Maybe your children disown you. Maybe you die alone. I mean, there are worse things. But if connection and companionship and love beyond yourself and beyond between you and your higher self, if you want to love more people, if you want more people to love you, if you want to celebrate beyond yourself. I love celebration by myself. I do it all the time. I really love it too. It's another dimension. It's another facet on the diamond, right? I love to celebrate with others. So if those things matter to you, and I'm imagining that they do, otherwise you wouldn't be watching a show called Living Well today, right? Then what we're talking about is living well today. Not living perfectly, living well. Because in that acceptance of what is, we live in that space and we find joy in that space. And it's hard. Perfectionism is about control. But the problem is that it ends up controlling you. It controls you. And meanwhile, look at the personal relationship, Steve Jobs, everything deteriorated around him. And in the end, he was sick very early and he created a lot. Yes, he did. Could he have created a lot and loved just as much? Yes, he could have. That's the idea, is that can you learn now, before you're sick, before, not many people want to hang around with you, your kids don't want to see you, whatever it is. If those things matter to you, and as human beings, as we evolve, we are social creatures, you're going to have more love and joy and ease in your life if you say sayonara to perfectionism. Where are you? Here's an exercise. Where are you wearing this mask? And when are you wearing this mask of perfectionism? When and where are you wearing it? Is it at work? In your relationships? Does everything have to be perfect? How I present myself online? And I've thought about that. And that's why I'm not even doing the backgrounds on this, because I'm kind of like, this is my space. I love this space. So it's come as you are. I did do my, I styled my hair this morning. Because I had a webinar to do for a client. So I did style my hair today. But less is more. That's the point. Sometimes people say more is more. Not when it comes to perfectionism. Less is more. What would it feel like if you just said, okay, I accept everything the way that it is today, right here, right now, just as I am. And the circumstances, just as they are. They're good enough. Sorry, I'm at this stand-up desk now, and I know I like the space, but I use this stand-up desk, and sometimes you have to remember it jiggles this laptop, and so I'm sorry if you're like, feel seasick at all. I have to remember. What would it feel like to just pick one thing that you probably get stuck in the perfectionism trap around, and just let that go for one day, one afternoon, one weekend? Just check it out. See what it feels like. Emotional exhaustion will lift because it's exhausting reaching the never reachable goal. It's exhausting. If you feel fatigue a lot of the time, there could be, sure, there are lots of reasons for it, but this seeking constant perfectionism is tiring. It can be fatiguing. If you have a project that you're anything that you're procrastinating on, often it's time. It's because, if it can't be perfect, then I'm not going to do it, right? But it isn't the outcome. It's not for the purpose of the outcome. It's for the purpose of the journey, of the becoming, of the realizing, of the creating. It's not necessarily even what is the end product. It's the process. It's the creation that is the worthwhile experience. I keep itching this, and I have to, was out by the pool yesterday, and a couple of days ago, and I got bit. Oh, and it's just and it feels so good when you itch it. I know. It's like they don't itch it. It feels so good when you itch it, but then that, of course, what? Just makes it worse. I can't be perfect, so why start? Yeah, that's a real thing. Missed opportunities because the fear of failure, not being willing to take a risk, not being able to take the leap because you're afraid it won't be perfect. So you never get started. No one just all of a sudden picks up the guitar and can play. I mean, maybe some prodigy 2-year-old, but most people have to sound kind of crappy for a while before they sound better. It's a process. That's life. That's mastery. So there's a constant anxiety. There's a constant dissatisfaction in life. And it's just one dissatisfied day after another, one dissatisfied week, a month, year after another. I did a word of the week last week, profound. Finding the profoundness of your work and life, and admiring in a state of appreciation the massiveness of the opportunity to be here on planet Earth, the massiveness and the size of our brain and our abilities, our capability to love, our potential for inspiration and creation, all those things, So chasing perfection, chasing it, it steals your peace. Yeah, it's the thief of peace. It's the thief of presence. Because if you're always chasing after the next perfect, where is the perfection in this present moment? So you can't fully ever be present if you're a perfectionist. And that's a shame. It's a shame because your power is here. It isn't out there in some perceived timeline or future. Recognize it. Recognize the trap that you might be in with this or that. Recognize it. And that recognition is vitally important. Practice being good enough. Set goals based on growth, not flawless outcomes, which you'll never get. Connect with your values. What matters most to you? Is it peace? Does peace matter more to you than being seen as perfect? And seen, by the way, by most people that you don't even know. They're strangers. They're never going to be directly in your life circle. And yet you're worried about them. And who's them? The nebulous them outside of you. Be good enough. What matters to you? Really get deep with that question on what matters most. Let yourself be seen as messy, as human, as real. I talk about some of the challenges that I have typically each week in this show, not as to impart my woes and wearies, but to share the fact that, it's resilience building, and which is necessary for our world, by the way, more and more, and because we just simply live in that time. And by the way, you signed up for this time, so you can't really complain about the times because you wanted to be here. So it's kind of like a buck up and own it. Own it. Own your presence. Own that you have this wonderful ride of a life granted to you. And if you're here watching this, you're living, you're breathing, you're not 6 feet under, it's a good day. And a good day is enough. A good day is good enough. You see? It's just like that. It's simple like that. It doesn't have to be complex, folks. You just say, I am. I am enough. I am that. I am. I am enoughness. I am love. So whatever it is that we've done this exercise before, as a leader, as a father, as a mother, as a daughter, as a partner, whatever it might be, as a human being, if you feel something lacking, you are that. I am that I am. I am prosperity. I am health. I am love. I am all that is. Yeah. True leadership shines not through flawlessness, but through relatability. No one is living a flawless life. No one. Because it's Earth. We have flaws. But in those flaws is the beauty. The acceptance of what is where the beauty is and where your power lies. Perfectionism promises two things. It promises safety and it promises you approval. But what it actually delivers to you is exhaustion, fatigue, isolation. Because the more and more perfect you must be, the more and more disconnected you will be, period. So what is the antidote to that? I'm practicing this. Practice it with me. The antidote is radical acceptance. Radical acceptance, full and total and complete. And through that, you'll have real connection. Connection to your own higher self and who you really are, which is perfection, and connection to others. Thank you for journeying with me through Drop the Mask. And if you haven't had the opportunity to watch the 2 previous episodes, I would recommend it, especially if you play these leadership roles. But even if currently you don't, but you want to more effectively and more wholeheartedly contribute to peace and love and joy with your fellow human beings. Because we need better leaders. We need more better leaders. And those leaders must be connected with themselves. They must learn presence. We must learn patience and empathy. Soft power. Softer power. So we will talk again, friends, about leadership, of course. We'll always talk about presence. We'll always talk about connection and harmony and balance. I'd like to explore, we've done some previous shows on your brain, on art, and the art and science of that. And I think I'd like to talk more next week about sound and the power of sound, not just in the stories and the words that we choose, because the words we choose, that's why I do Word of the Week, most definitely resonate and vibrate within us and help us create, those thoughts help us create our understanding and perception of things. But real sounds out in nature, sounds, if you've ever had a sound bath, how wonderful they are. Tuning forks, different things that you can use at home with your children, with your co-workers, It's all about sharing insights and things to help for living well today. So when you're ready to dive even deeper into mindful leadership, I encourage you to check out The Mindful Leader at angelamoonan.com. And I'm in the process of finalizing all the new fresh material on the new fresh website, which I'm very excited about. And I thank you. I thank you for being here and showing up in earnest for living well today.